I remember back then, I would get just dread going into work, like physically ill just thinking about going into the studio.
The knots in the stomach, and it just like,
which nowadays I know that's like, anxiety or angst about a situation. Back then I didn't even know what that word meant. I was just like, oh, this sucks, and then you just keep doing it. What's up, YouTube? It's Brandon from Tattooing 101, and I'm here with Jay and Nathan. Today's subject is a question that we get asked quite a bit by new tattoo artists, and that is, do they have what it takes to get into this industry, or is it time to throw in the towel?
Yeah.
So we're going to touch base on our feelings, our experiences with that subject.
For sure. I think tattooing is a funny one, right? There's some amazing highs, and there's also some pretty amazing lows at some points in the career, right?
Really?
It doesn't matter who you are or where you are, you're going to go through both. And when the high times come, enjoy it, embrace it as much as you can. Sometimes when the down times comes, it can be tempting to throw in the towel, but if you know that you're not alone going through these, every tattoo artist that has become successful has been through those exact challenges that you're going through now and has thought about, getting a 9 to 5 or kind of getting out of it, right? So,
and realistically, that's not just a one-time thing. That's about a 3-year cycle that a tattoo artist goes through.
It's definitely, it comes every now and then after a few years. It's like this thoughts kind of pop in your head, but
coming back,
yeah.
I've yet to meet an artist who hasn't gone through that. We met hundreds, maybe thousands of artists here, of course, beginners to advanced guys, but even traveling to meet world-renowned guys, professional guys. If you ask them candidly, they'll admit it. Everyone goes through that.
With art, it's kind of something that just happens in the industry of any art. You get artist block at some point. You need to try new things or do something new to kind of help yourself get out of that just routine of life, because it gets almost stagnant at some period of time. So keeping that drive is something that'll be very beneficial for you early on to understand and learning things to help cope with that, to keep going. So what are some of those instances with you, Jay, to where you felt that?
Thinking about just giving it up and kind of starting to do something else. Well, I think the main one was getting out of the military. I was going through all that health stuff we talked about on earlier podcasts, and I'm like, what can I do? I can't sustain myself as an artist. I'm not good enough yet.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, I should, get serious about life and do something else. But I think going through those things, I was like, there's nothing I'd rather be doing. So I'm going to figure this out and make it happen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were going through that period of time, what would you say the feeling was? Emotions that were going through it that helped play into that kind of idea?
It kind of felt hopeless, man. To be honest, and I see our students saying the same thing, is you kind of feel like, I really, really want to do this, but the reality of, I got bills to pay, I gotta buy groceries. A lot of our guys have families now too, so it's kind of that feeling of hopeless, feeling lost, you just can't put it together.
Yeah, for sure. What was one of the things you would say that got you through that period of time? What was the drive that kept you going?
I would say for me, at that point in time, it was you're naturally just drawn to keep doing it. Even when you're sort of exploring other ideas and thinking about other businesses, if you still find yourself drawing and painting or even tattooing in your downtime, it's probably the path for you.
Yeah.
So Jay, when you had that health scare, how long were you out of action for? How bad was it?
Yeah, honestly, it was ongoing for a decade plus. Just having seizures. I had 2 documented cardiac events where actually my heart stopped while in an airplane. So it was ongoing, but I kept kind of finding myself coming back to tattooing, sort of when you're going through some mental health type stuff. It's got an outlet, right? So it's almost not escaping, but it's something that makes you happy, keeps you going, keeps you focused. So it was ongoing for years and years, for sure.
And did you ever when you were having those health scares, you mentioned seizures and cardiac stuff?
Yeah.
What, did you ever black out when you were tattooing a client? What was the deal there? Or was it just kind of something that you didn't want to risk? Or
Yeah, not necessarily when I was tattooing a client. A lot of them were called petit mal seizures, and so it's where your eyes start going, you start getting vertigo, and then start getting real faint. So I could stop tattooing, put the machine down, grab some water, walk around, stuff like that. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, that's that'll be a wild thing to go through.
Yeah.
What about you, Nathan? What was a couple of the times?
Yeah, so mine were all related to money.
Okay.
All the times that I almost quit, because my apprenticeship went for 4 years, and there was, I was working for free obviously during that time, and people would sometimes ask me about what I would do, and I'd tell them, like, yeah, I have a tattooist, blah blah blah. Like, oh, you must make like a ton of money. I'm like, oh man, I'm just kind of getting started. I'm not actually getting paid. Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, yeah, it's like it's unpaid. So I'm like, I'm working for free. It's like, dude, you're working 6 days a week without pay. And I started to tell a few more people that, and word actually got around town. And I lived in a share house at the time, and I come home and there was like a party happening in my house. I didn't even know about it. There was about 13 people there. And just through the grapevine, they had kind of all heard about it. And then I had all these drunk people kind of coming up to me, and they were just like quizzing me. It's like saying, like, what are you doing? Why are you working for free? And then pretty much just calling me an idiot. And that, I've just been taken advantage of and I should just kind of quit. It's like all these things in my head. I've thought of all this over before. You know what I mean? Like I knew I was kind of getting like, not a great deal. But it just made me so frustrated because it just brought it all to the surface. And it's just like, yeah, man, like I can't argue with anything that you said.
Yeah, so that actually brings up a big point of, if you would have quit because you listened to them, it would have changed your life dramatically. You wouldn't be here right now.
100%.
So I want to say to everyone out there, choose the things that people say to you and what you keep in your mind very sparsely. So don't listen to everyone. And if they say that you don't have what it takes, don't believe them. That has to come from you. Don't just listen to what people, because they were drunk people.
Yeah.
And if you would have listened to that, you wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So with that, along with your story, what were some of the things that helped you kind of get out of that? Like, how did you go through hearing that? And obviously it took a big mental hit on you. You're like, oh, maybe I am.
I was so angry. I'm not like a violent guy at all, but that's really all I could think of. When I was having that entire conversation.
Yeah. So what helped you push through?
Honestly, there's a couple things, right? I knew that, I think the biggest one at the time was just sunken cost fallacy. It's just like, I've been doing this for a couple of years already. If I stop now, it was all for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I couldn't throw those years away. And even on top of that, I thought, it's just like, okay, I just played it out in my head. It's like, if I stop tattooing, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had kind of no other prospects on the horizon. I didn't have any, any degrees or anything like that. I dropped out of, university, so that, it didn't work out, and I wasn't going to go back to the military. So I just like, well, I'm just going to keep going until it works.
Yeah.
And
for everyone out there that's kind of thinking the same thing, all you have to do is keep going. So that kind of comes on with my story of, it didn't really come with medical stuff or money. It was just, I wanted to live a lifestyle being a pirate. I wanted to be able to make my own rules, do what I want. Yeah. I was in college for a while, decided to drop out. Just school wasn't for me. It was a good experience. I'm glad that I went through that, but I just went through school my whole life and jumped into college, and it just wasn't what I wanted out of my life. When I started getting into my apprenticeship, it was something that I really did enjoy. I didn't necessarily from the jump just be like, oh, this is what I want to do for a living. I didn't know. I was just a punk kid. So I was like, I'm just do my own thing, get into it, and just be a rock star. With that, life kind of happened, right? I wasn't making money. I wasn't having a good time in the shops that I was working at, because I went through 3 different shops to try to learn how to tattoo. First one, I actually did quit. Like, I quit tattooing because it was very unsanitary. I wasn't really learning anything beneficial. It was a very toxic environment. So I was like, what? Maybe this isn't for me. So I stepped away. I got a regular job. Still was always into art. And this was about a year hiatus that I was like, maybe it's not for me. But there was always that tick in the back of my head that I was like, you're not a quitter. Like, whatever you want in this world, you can make happen. So you just got to do it. So during that year, I really worked on my art, worked on trying to build up all the knowledge that I had, that I could get at that period of time. I remember there was one tattoo book back in the day that every tattoo artist had, studied that front to back, made notes. And that was like it's pretty easy nowadays with online stuff and all of that. Yeah, that wasn't a thing back then. YouTube, I don't even think was around, and if it was, it was like just the very start of YouTube. So after that,
There wasn't other tattooers on YouTube showing people how to
No.
tattoo. It was other people that had eBay kits. They were like, hey, look at me tattoo orange or something like that. So,
and so that year I really worked on it and spoke to a ton of different studios trying to get in. When I did finally find that one, it was not much better than the first one. But at that period of time, I knew what I wanted, and no matter what happened, I was going to make it work. So my drive was literally just being bullheaded. Like that's it. And obviously, like, we would never be where we are today if we just decided to quit. I think that with tattooing, it always starts out kind of as a hobby because you're not getting paid for it when you start out. So technically speaking, that is a hobby.
You gotta love it.
And you have to have that passion. And if you do have that, there's nothing stopping you from becoming a tattoo artist. The information's there. So that is the big thing.
that's pretty crazy. I mean, 3 times. Like, that's a lot of people, have one bad apprenticeship and they got so much, like, scars or whatever. I mean, they're done.
I'm pretty bullheaded, man. I'll make some stuff happen.
And like, if it would have not worked out a 3rd time, do you reckon you would have got up again?
No matter what, I was like, at that point of time, I was going through, I drank a lot back then. So necessarily speaking, I put myself in a situation to where I wasn't able to be the best I possibly could be. So no matter what, I would have came to that realization if it was, a year, 2 years. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. If it didn't work out, I was going to find any option physically possible to make it happen.
You mentioned a little bit before, so you did 3 studios you did apprenticeships in. The first one, you mentioned that the hygiene was busted and some sketchy stuff was going on there. What, like the second and third one, like what happened with them? I'm just out of curiosity.
So the second one I was in, I got in because a really good artist left. He was kind of high and dry, needed someone. So I found my way. I ended up doing a tattoo on my brother. At this period of time, I was not good. And he gave me a shot. Got into the shop, was making 50%. So I was actually making money in my second apprenticeship, which helped a lot. Biggest problem there, there was a lot of things going on in the back end of the tattoo studio with like drugs and all sorts of stuff, which I just kind of kept going because during this period of time, I had another opportunity. I wasn't going to give it up. And my brother actually started apprenticing as well during that period of time. The dude pulled a gun on him, so he left. Another apprentice got thrown through a wall there.
Dude, what a crazy work environment. Like, no one on the job, like, I've never heard of an apprentice plumber say, oh, yeah, my boss pulled a gun on me. Through another guy through a wall.
And I remember back then, I would get just dread going into work, like physically ill just thinking about going into the studio.
With the knots in the stomach. And it's just like,
nowadays I know that that's like, anxiety or angst about a situation. Back then I didn't even know what that word meant. I was just like, oh, this sucks. And then you just keep doing it. But it got to a period of time to where I knew if I was around this situation, something bad was going to happen to either me or, something with the shop that's going to hurt my name as an artist. And I was constantly getting better. Now, was I good at that period of time? No, but I was making progress. I was able to access more things to be able to better myself. When I left there was another hiatus. So I left because of everything going on. Dude was like nodding off. He would tear apart every single tattoo I did, and he didn't even tattoo. He wasn't a tattoo artist.
What do you mean nodding off? Like on drugs?
Yeah, like on drugs, yeah.
In the shop?
Oh, yeah. So I came to the decision that I needed to get away from there. Got a regular job again, and then I ended up moving to Tennessee. That was the biggest the best thing that happened in my life for tattooing.
Why'd you move to Tennessee?
At the period of time, my first wife got a job and we moved to Tennessee. So nothing really besides just that. With that, I talked to a studio here. They said that they were willing to give me a shot. Technically speaking, I was an apprentice there because in Tennessee, they don't accept any other regulations or licensing, all that stuff. And Pennsylvania doesn't have any. You could open up a shop tomorrow and not know anything and just do it. So in Tennessee,
Except in Pittsburgh, I believe. Everywhere else. Yeah.
really? Oh,
Yeah, I think there's one part of Pennsylvania where they're super strict, where everywhere else is chill.
But got into that studio, and technically I was impressed. They really didn't look at me like I wasn't, shop bitch or anything, but, they were respectful to me at least and willing to help me out. That was a really good shop, and honestly, like, what helped morph me into the artist I am today. There was still some things here and there that I didn't necessarily like, but I do greatly appreciate that opportunity. I wouldn't be here today without that studio.
Was that? I'm curious. Whenever you stopped tattooing and you went and got like a regular job, like what were you doing for work back then?
Yeah, so I kind of, I kind of jumped around a lot. I would say that I wasn't the opportune kind of employee,
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, but I worked at Sheets Distribution for a while as a garbage man. I worked at my family store. They owned a country store, so I'd like load up feed and stuff.
Gotcha.
And a ton more than that. I've done a lot. So yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. What have you done? Did you have any other crazy jobs?
Yeah, a few different ones. I mean, I think the one that probably paid the most was the military.
Yeah.
Until they kicked me out. Yeah. But besides that, yeah, man, I think for me is like, on one of the periods when actually I quit, like I had an apprenticeship and it was the same kind of stuff like back then. I'm not sure how it is now, but like whenever you quit your apprenticeship, they take your machines.
Yeah, they do that to me. Yeah,
Same thing.
My machine's taken. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom was actually going through a divorce.
Was it? Did you buy your machine or was it a gift from your mentor? And then they kind of took it back.
He had gifted me one.
Yeah.
Mickey Sharp's machine.
Yeah.
The little micro dial, like the old school ones. He gave me that one. And I had been saving up and like buying my own machines and power supply, whatever. And they took everything. Wow. And everything. Yeah.
I got a story. So when I started there, at my second one, he gave me a bunch of inks that
Expired.
they were
Watered down.
fairly old, right? They were fairly old ink, and I worked there for 2 years. So at this period of time, I got my own colors and everything, and I went to leave, and I took my machine home the day before, so he couldn't take that, but he took everything. And the people that were tattooing after I left there were still using that same ink. So it was very old.
Yeah, that happened to me too. Like when I left my first shop, this is another time where I almost gave up for good because I'd worked in the shop for 4 years and I never actually, got signed off. I remember one time the boss pulled me aside and says like, hey, if you want to move up, you might want to find another apprentice to replace you, so that you can, so that someone can work the counter. It's like what's Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like the Dutchman has to have a captain.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, whoa, okay, I didn't expect that. But anyway, it had been pretty rocky, sort of the fourth year that I was working there, and at the very end of it, I was doing lighter scale work, like half sleeves and stuff like that, just like everyone else in the studio, still on 40%, and I had told my boss that I wanted to, travel for a little bit or, kind of just go overseas. And then that was a huge issue.
Oh, yeah.
Almost got fired over that. Decided not to do that. And then a little bit later on, I said, it's like, I at least want to do a guest spot. I've been here for 4 years. I've literally been sitting at this front counter for 4 years, 6 days a week, 50, 60 hours a week, drawing, tattooing whenever I could, which wasn't super often because we didn't have fake skins back then. And I just wanted to live a bit. I was halfway through my best decade, my 20s, and I hadn't really done anything.
Did you regret it? At that period of time, did you?
Yeah, it's in the beginning, it was all just like, nah, man, it was all passion. It's just like, nah, it's totally. But then towards the end of it, when you don't see progress for 3, 5, 6 months, it's just like, man, what am I doing? It's just like, I'm not I'm not young anymore. It's like people are starting to, because when you're broke, when you like in your early 20s, it's okay to be broke.
Yeah.
I mean, no, like it's normal. Once you start getting to 25, everyone else that your peers, the people that you grew up with,
Graduated from college.
yeah, they start graduating, they start buying cars, they start traveling, getting married, having kids, and you're just as broke as you were when you were 16.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost embarrassing. You know what I mean? You start to feel ashamed to kind of tell people what's going on in your life because you just know that you're going to have to deal with like judgment.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, so I told my mentor that I want to do a guest spot, and that's when he like shoved me into a wall, like my head hit the concrete, and then he just fired me that day. I don't think he actually fired me. He just kind of did that, and then kind of went in a huff and like walked down. I just said, you know what? This isn't worth it anymore.
That was after 4 years?
That was after 4 years. And I just said, you know what? I've suffered so much for this. It's just like, man, I'm done. I don't care anymore. So I got hold on, let me finish that. I got a cardboard box. I put all my inks in it. I put all the pictures off all the other artists in the shops like, dude, sure? Like, you've been here 4 years. It's like, man, I don't care. Like, I'm out. I put all my stuff in a box. I walked out, and I thought I was done. Yeah, I thought I would never come back into tattooing ever again. I spent like a week kind of feeling sorry for myself, and then naturally I started doing a couple tattoos at home. And it was the funny too, because I was on a 40% split, I could give a 50% discount and still make 10% more than I was making in the studio. And then, I ended up talking with one of my other friends that worked at a different shop. They told me to come down, check it out. They hired me on the spot, put me on as a full-time artist, no apprenticeship, gave me a 10% raise. I had my own booth.
Hell yeah.
They supplied inks, needles, all that good stuff. It's a really, really good place.
So it was this big jump, yeah.
Massive jump. Yeah.
Have you ever been fired by that one place before?
Yeah, dude, I got fired my first week. Yeah, literally, when I got an apprenticeship, I thought I was in tattooing, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm so cool. Like, yeah, it's like guaranteed. I got a sick apprenticeship. I'm in. And I think I've talked about this in other podcasts before, but yeah, like I was so hard up for cash, I got an experimental bird flu vaccine.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had to skip work. The boss was going to like a convention in Poland, I think. He was supposed to go on the day before. We got one of his machines, came back. I wasn't there. I asked where Nath was. They told him the truth. And it's just that he calls me up. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And fired me over the phone. And then I caught a bus into town. Went in the studio, I just refused to leave until he rehired me. It was so awkward.
It's dedication, bro.
Yeah, he was just yelling at me and telling me to, like, fuck off. And I just said, no, I'm not going. It was just so weird and uncomfortable. And then by the end, I think it's like, all right, I'll give you another shot. And that was, yeah.
Have you ever been fired?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I've always quit.
Yeah, same.
So you are really bullheaded.
Got fired first week and rehired the same day by the same studio.
Well, damn.
But the second time I lasted 4 years. So.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
But yeah, the main thing for me was though, after that 4 years, I genuinely thought that everyone in that shop cared about me.
Yeah.
And, the mentor, like, yeah, okay, he was hard on me and stuff like that, and there was lots of hazing and all that. But there were times where I thought, it's like, he was actually a good dude. Mm-hmm. And then to kind of, I don't know, it felt like I was just sort of cast aside and I was just super disposable, and it's just like, it gave me like a gross feeling. It just put such a bad taste in my mouth. It's just like, I was just really disappointed. I just felt like an idiot.
Yeah. I've felt that plenty of times to where it's like, in the industry, it's almost like you sell your soul to tattooing. Right. Back then, at least, that's exactly how it was. The opportunities that I've kind of missed out on in my younger life, to where other people were, having fun or really experiencing life. I was stuck at the tattoo studio, not doing shit. Like, I wasn't even tattooing. I was just sitting there because that was what I was expected to do. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. So all those feelings that, everyone out there that is looking and watching do feel, every single person.
Man.
I used to think that I was special. Like, I had it exceptionally, I've been super hard done by. But then when I started working with other artists and I just heard stories, I had stories that were more brutal than mine.
Yeah, me too.
I talked to this one guy in Melbourne. He was in a shop, and I think it was called like Killer Bees or something like that. It was in Melbourne. Anyway, he used to tell me that the shop that he came up in, he would sometimes come in the morning and he'd have to mop up blood off the floor. Just because there was stuff going on there.
Wow, dude.
Hours, there was like, pretty full on. There was like violence and stuff in the shop. Like, it was pretty hardcore. I never saw anyone get beat up or
Yeah.
anything like that in our studio. Now I'm mentally used to
I have.
stand over people or whatever. But yeah, it's never saw anything like that.
Yeah. So Jay, what was the biggest thing, the one key factor that kept you going, that just made you know or helped you make it to that point?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, man. I haven't really thought about this like explicitly, but it's kind of coming up in this conversation. Is that really I can kind of like look back and like thank my mom for like keeping me or bringing me back into tattooing. I'm thinking about it. She was going through a divorce. This was when I was doing my apprenticeship, and I was living in Hawaii. And she said, "Can you come help me like pack my shit, pack my stuff up, get rid of the house and stuff like that?" And then my mentor took my machines and stuff, and went back to the mainland to help her kind of like deal with her situation. And she was going through it, and then she's like, she wanted me to give her a tattoo. So I got a little bit of equipment, scraped it together, and
How'd you get it?
I still had contacts with,
Yeah.
I don't want to say the brand, but because I already had the account
Yes,
for the tattoo supply company, they let me order it and then just ship it to a different address.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you could just buy equipment. But anyway, long story short, she was going through a depression, of course, because of the divorce, and asked me if I could do a tattoo on her, and she was like hyped on it, and just like really seeing it like really kind of lift her up a little bit. I was like, man, this is something I want to keep doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that brings up a really big key point that I'd like to point out, that you said about, your mom kind of keeping you with tattooing.
Yeah.
And I think, I didn't even think about it before, but like the people I had around me were always like, kind of supportive. There was those people that said that, I'd never make it happen and all that stuff, because you always have those people, right?
I didn't. I definitely had no other. Maybe in the beginning, like month one, when it's all new and exciting.
Yeah.
But my own dad told me to quit.
Oh, that's because I wasn't in your life yet, buddy. I would have told everybody.
Yeah, man.
But most people have someone around them to kind of like give you that drive or, kind of push you into being better. So I do think that, especially with this, if you do have a family and you're getting into tattooing and you have that day job, you definitely want your family to be on board with it. It's just going to make life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
I've been in relationships, and another story I have to where I've almost quit multiple times. So I've been in relationships to where, they were slightly jealous of, me doing what I do for a living, having to touch people and creating art. And it put a really big, it almost made me hate tattooing, because I knew if I was going to tattoo this design, I was going to go home and get back like
Chest piece.
females. Yeah, and as a tattoo artist, you have to hold yourself to a certain standard in this industry, right? There are plenty of scumbags out there that left a really bad stigma on the industry.
Yeah.
But if you are doing it very professionally, there is absolutely no reason for anyone to be upset. And if that is a problem, it's going to make your life way harder to be a tattoo artist. And I'm sure,
And that's something that's unique to tattooers too. Like I've never heard of, I don't know, like a guy that was like a female doctor or something.
Yeah.
You're a doctor for women.
Dentist.
So doesn't have like that same issue, and it's just tattooing.
and it's because of the bad stigma from all the people that were low lifes and did some stuff. And it's, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Just with you mentioning, have you ever lost relationships because of your tattooing career?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it was a key factor, but it definitely kind of pushed me in the direction of knowing it wasn't going to work. And, with tattooing, that was my career. I didn't have enough feeling for anyone to quit tattooing for. So obviously it was just the world telling me like, this isn't going to work, and ended up leaving the relationship. But it wasn't like, oh, I never got the ultimatum, quit tattooing or we're over, because realistically it would have been over that night, because that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that almost made me quit a lot, is just being surrounded by the wrong people.
Yeah.
What's another one for you?
Probably just speaking about relationships, I used to date this girl in Newcastle, and I think we were seeing each other for like, 6 months or something like that. And when I was like 3 years into tattooing, I don't know if this is a thing, but my social skills massively deteriorated because all I did for like 3 years straight was sit in my room and draw. And that's it. I didn't have money to go out. I wasn't going to clubs. I wasn't going to bars because I couldn't afford to drink. I couldn't afford to drink nice alcohol. I could afford box wine. That's done. That's another story.
Yeah, you still did it though.
But yeah, so I just I wasn't really very talkative. So I was in a share house with a bunch of dudes, which was super cool. Like they always had like parties and stuff over, and there was always lots of people around. So that was pretty fun. But I never really kind of connected with any of them because I just didn't feel like I just wasn't good at talking about myself. And plus, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about because all I did every day was the same thing. And I wasn't traveling. I wasn't doing anything fun like that. But whenever I would kind of go out with them, I was just kind of tag along. And anyway, I started seeing this chick that I was dating, and seen each other for about 6 months. And then she eventually came out with all of us one night. And one of the other dudes had like talked to the girl that I was seeing. It was just like, oh, like, Nate's like a good dude, but he's not like one of the crew. Like he just kind of like hangs out with us, and it's like he's not really like in the friend group. Right. And it's just like, and then like the next day a messenger and ghosted. It's like, dude, I know. But just because I just wasn't very good at talking to people because that's all I did is just draw,
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, it's like if I had, been like a normal person and just had like a normal 9 to 5 and gone out on weekends and stuff,
Kimberly,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be having these issues, But
sure.
Yeah, that was.
I think you're normal.
I mean, I feel like I'm more normal than I've ever been.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I don't think we would have hang out back then.
probably not. Probably not. We're both too.
We just too dedicated to a craft, man.
Yeah, massive alcoholics.
We probably would have hung out.
We would have been sick to hang out with like 10 years ago.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, but and like just kind of going through that made me think it's just like, oh man, is this worth it? You know what I mean? Like it's done, and not only is it like it's affecting me financially, it's affecting my relationships, it's affecting my health because like I wasn't eating fruits and vegetables every day.
Yeah.
So every other aspect of my life was like falling and crumbling away, and all I had was the art, which made me kind of want to hold on to it more.
Yeah.
And I was like, almost like afraid to quit because then I'd lose everything that I'd put in. The longer that I'd been in that apprenticeship, the more and more under the thumb of my mentor that I felt. Yeah, so I had more to lose with every passing day.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to say, because most of the stuff we kind of talked about on this podcast has been kind of negative. Most of the stuff have been pretty negative, but I wanted to add the point that when I was going through with my tattooing career, and the better I got, the more that I've increased with my health.
Yeah.
With all these things. So, like I said, I was drinking very, very heavily at one period of time. And it kind of, the more money I was making with tattooing, I got to a point that I was just buying more expensive liquor and then just drinking that, Well, I didn't have to go to the bottom of the barrel anymore. I was like, I'm making money. I'm going to indulge myself.
Yeah.
But it got to the point that I realized if I wanted to get to that next step and, kind of break free from every other artist around to where you get to that point that like you just are stagnant, right? You don't really grow. You don't get worse. You're making money. And some people are cool with that. I got to a point that I was not. I want to be the best I possibly can be. So tattooing actually helped me become a better person. I quit drinking so I could focus more on creating better art, not being sick the next day, not being shaky, all of these things. I'm able to eat better now. We're tattoo artists. We still eat some trash from here and there. Yeah. But, and having the time to work out, one thing that no one really talks about as a tattoo artist, but the mental strain that you have, because when you're starting out, you work 7 days a week, especially if you own your own tattoo studio like I have and you have before. There's so much extra stuff. You have 6 jobs that you have to do. And taking the time,
Like social media.
social media,
Customer support, tattooing, drawing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did that.
Sorry,
yeah, taking the time to focus on your own mental health, because I've had plenty of problems throughout my career,
Yeah.
is one thing that realistically, if you're getting into tattooing and are kind of struggling with understanding if you want to make this happen for a living, take that time to really get out, do what you want. I enjoy camping a lot. That's something I enjoy. Getting out in nature. Whatever you do love, go do those things.
Have something else.
Yeah, have something else. You know, commitment is so important with this, but you still have to be happy at the end of the day.
Otherwise, you're just burning out.
Yeah.
I think ideally too, something where you can actually, to your point, like move your body.
Yeah.
Because like if you want to have a long career, like you don't want to have your back blown out, your shrimp blown out, yeah, dude, all hunched over on a station all day. So yeah, moving your body for sure.
And that's how you're going to make a successful, long career out of tattooing.
On that note too, with what Jay said about healthy body, like that's so legit, because when I started tattooing when I was 20 years old, like my apprenticeship, my mentor was in his mid-30s, so still a young dude.
Yeah.
Multiple operations on his spine. I remember after some sessions, he was like hunched over and I'd have to help him crack his back.
Yeah.
And yeah, just some days that, you just couldn't tattoo.
Because you're 30.
Yeah.
I feel that heavily.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And
You go.
and it's very common too. Like I've worked in several shops where it starts out where you want to just keep working, got to keep paying the bills, got to keep making the money. So you keep tattooing, fighting through the pain. Then you get on Tylenol, then painkillers.
Yeah.
Now the shop leads to addiction, other drugs. So I think that's why it's like so common for industry, like opioids and things like that too. So
Yeah, and, even with drinking, that was something that I would tell myself, I'm going to drink so I could get some sleep.
Oh, man.
That's what I told myself. Now, drinking destroys your sleep. I'm not a doctor by any means, but it did not help me get good sleep at all. That's just something I told myself. So it's just like that repetitive nature that you get stuck in. That, the best part about someone getting into the industry and hearing these things now is you don't have to go through the same stuff that we have. Take our advice, so you don't have to live like us.
yeah.
I mean, you make it sound like we're all in wheelchairs, but it's not. Yeah, we turn out okay, but yeah, you can absolutely, shave a few years off your career if you don't look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, anything else always made you throw in the towel, Jay?
Honestly, man, I got so frustrated with myself because there would be points when either I'm going through a health thing or like stopping to go help my mom out. And like, I don't regret those things, of course, but it's like I would, take a little break and then get drawn back into it because I found myself drawing and tattooing. So finally, I got my first like job stopper, like the tattoo across the knuckles. I'm like, look, I'm going to get tattooed. This was, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. So I'm like, I'm going to get these visible tattoo, go beyond the cufflinks and the collar and like get a tattoo where I can't get another job. Because I was so upset at myself that I kept sort of like stopping and coming back and like, man, if I just would have kept going the whole time, I'd be way further ahead. Yeah, so that was the main thing for me, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem I had is the amount of times that I've quit and kind of like,
Not quit, just had hiatuses.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you always cut back to it.
Yeah, but at the period of time, the first time I did quit, I thought it was the end. Like it felt like my world was completely turned over, that there was no end. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that might feel the same way, that they're never going to get out of their day job or, be able to break free from this stuff. But anyone can do it. It takes just planning and management of time.
Consistent action, and also, I've said this before, over a long enough time horizon, it's impossible to fail.
Yes.
It's not physically possible for you to, like, obviously this is an exaggeration, but like, if you do this for 10 years, it would be impossible for you not to be better at the end of the day than what you are.
Unless you're learning the wrong way.
Yeah, unless you learn the wrong way, then it's kind of like batting your head against a brick wall. But over a long enough time horizon, your chances of success go on up and up with the more years that you stack on.
Absolutely, man, yeah.
And also, I would love to hear what you guys are going through too. I love connecting with everyone in the comments. So if you're having any of these feelings or any struggles that you're going through throughout your career, or not knowing if it's time to give up or not, leave them down below so I could check them out and give you some advice as well.
Read all the comments ourselves. So yeah, really want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I think on that point though, I someone gave me this metaphor. I forget who it was, but I still think about it. And they say, picture like anything you want to do, in this case, tattooing, and you're on the highway. So wherever you are right now, you're on the highway, you're going down the road. At the end of the highway is your version of success. Licensed professional artist, opening your own studio, having a private shop, whatever it is, traveling full time. And along this highway that you're going down, there are thousands of exits, and every exit takes you off the path. These exits are excuses. Most people take the exit. It's the easy way out. If you just stay on the highway, keep progressing, put one foot after another, you're going to get to the destination.
Yeah.
So I still think about that.
Unless you're in a cartoon and then there's like a brick wall on the highway somewhere.
Right, yeah. Unless you're on the wrong highway and the roadrunner or something. And
Yep.
All right. Oh, yeah. So then, yeah, you see, I mean, the main things that kind of kept me going in tattooing, again, the sunk cost thing. Like, the longer I did it, the more I had to lose, and the more reluctant I was to give it up. It was only when things kind of reached breaking point where I got, my head banged into a wall by, my mentor for like the last 4 years, where I thought, this sucks. And I wanted to bounce, but ended up coming back still after that. And also, I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't have any other direction in life. I didn't have any other skills. I didn't have any other prospects. So I just thought, man, if I quit this, I'm going to be this pain that I'm going through now will be eternal, because I'll be doing something that I don't really want to do, and it will not stop until I retire. I'll not enjoy it forever. Whereas this thing that I'm doing right now, it's painful, but it has there's a light at the end of the tunnel where it gets good. Yeah. But if I'm working at, Walmart, that's not so much, it's forever then. Yeah. So that was a big thing. And
yeah, I would say with mine, that light at the end of the tunnel, the thing that drawed me to never wanting to quit was just living the lifestyle that I wanted. I didn't want to struggle anymore. I didn't want to have to worry about, I wanted to be able to physically myself control how much money I make. If I'm working in a 9-to-5, put all of my effort into that, I possibly could get a raise. I possibly could get overtime. But if I'm wanting to grind and I set a goal saying I'm making $10,000 this month, I could do that. I could get out there, put in the time, and make that happen. So as a tattoo artist, you make as much as you're willing to work.
Yeah.
And if you want to take some time off, you have that ability. It's a lifestyle that is very hard to find realistically anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much the deciding factor that always brought me back to tattooing.
I used to think that I got my first job when I was 16 at McDonald's flipping burgers. And actually, no, that's a lie. I wasn't flipping burgers. They put me at the front counter because I looked non-threatening. I was at the front counter, hated it. And, I remember I got my first paycheck. It was something like I worked 40 hours or something like that. And I got like $170. Because I was like, back the minimum wage is like $7 an hour or something. And that's Australian dollars. Like, it's nothing. It's just like, man, I think I bought like some lunch, a couple, like pairs of jeans or something like that. And that was it. That was it. It was done. It's like, yeah, man, like I need to find a way to make more money because this is like rough. Wow. But yeah, I hated the fact that it was just because I'd extrapolate out the amount of my hours and time that I have to sell to have the things I want to have or live the way that I wanted to live. And the math just wasn't mathing. So
Not possible.
the whole thing of being able to have control over how much I earn. If I got better at tattooing, I could charge more. If I work longer hours, I could increase my income.
It's all on you.
Yeah, 100%. And you get to a point too, like if you decide to, like there are so many artists who are happy just being an artist or happy opening a private studio. But if you want to sort of like go up a level, you start to sort of learn about different ways to kind of leverage your time as well. You want to be a studio owner, you start having artists under you, you have multiple tattoo studios. So there's that path as well.
Yeah, and there's plenty of room for growth with tattooing. I've been in this industry and, doing reviews on tattoo machines, and there's so much to learn all the time.
Yeah.
That, I don't know about you guys, but I got some pretty hefty ADHD that I get hyperfixated on stuff, and then as soon as that's done, I move on. But with tattooing, it always kind of, there's always more to learn. There's always something that keeps that kind of spark in my brain to keep going.
It's a career with eternal growth.
Yeah.
You'll never get that in anything else. Like if you go work at the bank, you know what I mean? Like, it's a point where there's a ceiling where someone either has to, die or retire. Get to the next level. And then it's just the same thing every, like, Groundhog Day forever.
And that kind of runs into, I don't even know who made this quote. I've heard it a few times throughout my career. But the day that you think that you know everything with tattooing is the day you need to hang it up and quit.
Yeah.
So with this whole video, that's a perfect kind of quote to go by, is everyone out there feeling like they need to quit, there's always more to learn.
Yeah. I think that with saying that, would you ever say that there is, because there's a lot of grumpy old tattooers and tattooing, like old heads that just, you can tell, like, you go in their shop, they're super rude to their customers and they kind of don't want to be there. Do you think that there is a time to quit in tattooing where it does make sense?
So the reason that they're still there is because they did not think smartly about retirement and investing in the correct places, because they've lived the party lifestyle and did not think about the future, which is a whole nother subject in the tattoo industry that we will absolutely touch base on in the future, because that is a great one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just honestly improper planning and living that kind of party lifestyle without thinking about anything happening in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's like, I kind of gave the example earlier about going through a lot of different things with the mentor or the health stuff or whatever, and just like always found myself coming back to tattooing, to drawing, to painting. And then it was to the studios. And then I left for a while. I went like on that marketing path, and then came back again to help people with their marketing, still in the tattoo industry. And so it's like I keep finding myself like sucked back onto this path by just like this natural sort of like pull, But if it becomes more of like a push thing for you, where you're like, oh, I got to do my drawings, or like, oh, I got to tattoo someone for an extended period of time, maybe it's not the path for you.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And that's an important thing too. I think it was Jeff Bezos that said that, the Amazon guy. It doesn't matter what you do, there's always overhead. Okay, there's parts of every job where it's just like, oh, I'm not too psyched about this, but overall you like the job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, it's even this far into tattooing. Like, I'm sure you've had one difficult client that's kind of ruined your day. You know what I mean? Yeah. But on the whole, tattooing is still awesome, but there's still some overhead, and that's with any job.
Yeah, no one can ruin that. But yeah, no, absolutely. That's one thing that you can't change in life is just, the things that happen around you. But if you are happy with what you do and are getting into tattooing because it's your passion, then realistically, anyone can do it. All you have to do is have the drive to keep going.
I think it's I guess kind of maybe wrapping things up. When people say, can I do tattooing, or should I keep doing this, or should I quit? It's not so much can you do it. It's more because that's from my perspective, that's seeking permission, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a decision. It's like, will I do this or will I not do it? Okay, as opposed to can I or can I not? Because there, again, I've said it so many times before. There's people out there in this world with less favorable circumstances to you. They got less money than you, less time than you. They got more disadvantages than you have, and then less skilled, but they're doing twice as well.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to making that decision. It's just like, are you going to do it or you're not going to do it?
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Also, if you like videos like this and would like to see more from us, since we're here recording a ton of stuff, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you keep up to date on all the awesome new stuff we're filming right now. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.